Hello, beautiful world. My name is Karen, and I'm a 30-year-old who has no idea what she wants to do with her life. So, if you're here, then either that means number one, you're in the same boat as me. You don't know what you want to do with your life. It feels confusing. You feel a little lost. You have too many opportunities, too many things that you like to do. Or, secondly, you might know somebody who is in this position. So, if you happen to find this video insightful, please send this to them. But other than that, welcome as we explore stuckness together. Um, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm going to have some amazing insights that's going to change your life. All I'm here to do is really just kind of walk through my own thinking around stuckness and how we get out of it. So, welcome. Join me on this journey. So, one of the first things that comes to mind whenever I think of stuckness is some people refer to it as inertia. If it's been a while since you've been in science class, this is a concept that means the tendency of an object to resist changes in its state of motion. This is a physics concept in Newton's first law of motion, and essentially it says that if a book is sitting on a table, it will remain sitting on the table until a force is used to knock it off the table or move it across the table. And likewise, if a ball is rolling on a flat surface, it will have the tendency to stay rolling at that speed unless outside forces act on it, i.e. things like friction to slow it down. Now, the interesting thing about this concept is that inertia is only a concept and it is not quantifiable, which means there's no equation for us to figure out how much inertia an object has. Now, I will make the caveat and say there is rotational inertia that you can quantify, but I'm no scientist, I'm no physicist. You can look that one up on your own. But I'm just kind of using this as a building block for our stuckness. Because basically all I'm hearing is that if an object has matter, it doesn't want to change what it's currently doing, which means that no, you're not wrong and crazy if you don't want to get out of the bed in the morning. There's just other forces like, bills and food that that push us to go do something else. So another example that I think about when I think about inertia is my own personal experience of working in a soul-eating corporate job. This is something that I have done for years and years of my life. I've had a couple different jobs in my life, all of them revolving around the same type of work. But part of what I'm looking at here is that I was in a certain amount of inertia with these jobs. In fact, right now, some part of me has a tendency to want to go back to those jobs because they are known and they feel safe. However, the reason I'm saying I want to go back is because I am no longer in those jobs by a force fully outside of my control, i.e. the market, and I was laid off. But yeah, no time for pity. This is why I'm here doing this video, because some part of me was pushed out of my comfort zone. I'm gonna say this is actually kind of scary, so please be nice to me in the comment section. But anyways, the next portion that I want to go into, so we have this concept of inertia, which is actually tied to other concepts of potential and kinetic energy. Now, before you be like, Karen, I didn't click on this video for a science lesson, just hear me out, okay? Just hear me out. Potential energy is stored energy. So gravitational potential energy, a ball held high, the amount of potential energy that it holds is, I don't know the exact formula, but something about the height above the gravitational pull towards the ground. So that's the amount of potential energy it has. Now, kinetic energy is the energy of motion. This usually has to do with velocity. So where am I going with this? So now what I'm looking at in my life is sitting in my corporate jobs, I was building up a certain level of potential energy, I dare say. I was learning skills, I was doing things that was giving me more information and perhaps heightening, giving me more height in this formula of potential energy. But now the thing is that potential energy can be converted into kinetic energy. And that is why I'm here. So I don't have this fully scripted out, but we're going to explore this together. This idea of potential energy, kinetic energy. And for some reason, as I was thinking about this, I'm currently reading Jordan Peterson's book, We Who Wrestle with God. Completely separate. We can talk about that later. But in one chapter of the book, he makes the statement that the left and the right brain are not necessarily about, I don't know what he said, linguistic and motive. I might be wrong on that. But he puts forth this idea. The left and right hemispheres of the brain is the known and the unknown. And I dare say this is kind of like kinetic and potential energy. Like, potential energy, maybe in some ways, is a storing up of the unknown, while kinetic energy is the known, because it's like this lived experience that we're going through. And I guess right now, as I even look at myself, I'm trying to like grasp this concept of, well, why am I right here, right now, in front of this camera? Because doing YouTube videos has been on my mind for, honestly, years now. And something about my environment, something about where I was in life, kept me from doing it. I had all my excuses of like, oh, whatever, I'm not pretty enough, I need to lose weight, or I'm too busy, I have work, or I don't have enough energy, I'm working 40 hours a week and I come home and I don't want to do anything. I have like all these things, but I think about like right now about what has pushed me into this, because like I mentioned, I was laid off, but even then for a few weeks there, I wasn't doing anything. So what is it that kickstarts us into movement, that takes us out of potential energy and pushes us and converts us into kinetic energy? And as I was thinking about this concept, some different things came to mind, and I'm going to look in my little journal here because I took some notes. But I was thinking about like forces of discomfort. There's a certain level of discomfort with the idea that I have this idea, there's something I want to do, and I'm not doing it. Like, I have this idea of wanting to do YouTube videos, and every time when I go to sleep and I haven't made one, I'm like, what the heck, Karen? You could have done it. And I'm even laying there and like all these ideas are swirling in my mind. The potential energy is rising because I have these ideas, but I'm not doing them. So discomfort can be one of these things. Some other things is like direct force, like an actual push to do it. I think about, you know, like I was in these jobs that I didn't like and I wanted to leave, but I wasn't doing it on my own. And the only reason that I left right now is because, please excuse my cat in the corner here. And the only reason they're doing it now is because out of my control, I was let go from that job. So it pushed me into the unknown, forcing me to convert my potential energy while sitting in this job that I didn't like into kinetic energy of having to do other things to make a living, make money. Hey, we all live in the same world. Money makes the world go round. So my bills didn't stop. But on the other side of it too, I was considering this concept of, oh man, like journeys into the wilderness. Now you can equate this to the Bible and whatever, the Israelites going into the wilderness, leaving Egypt. You can equate this to the idea of leaving the tribe. There are many movies, many books who explore this concept of moving into the unknown. And I get this feeling that it's not just what I listed of like negative forces pushing us into this new space, but I also think that there's positive forces of things like hope, things like expectation, things like vision that will also pull us in this direction of where we want to go. And I think that I just have this firm belief that like science reflects life in a way. I mean, obviously, I guess science is life, but I guess I'm talking about like science equations also reflect the immaterial experience of living. Maybe that's wrong. You can say something in the comments, whatever. But what I'm getting at is that I really feel like it's both. It is both the discomfort of pushing us in ways that we don't like and it doesn't feel good and you're like, what the heck? I have to go do something different. But then also the hope and the vision and the expectation and the like, the want, like that I want something different, that like both of them together push us, move us, change us into this new thing. And I think another thing underneath this too is, you know, I think we can set ourselves up for the highest amount of whatever kinetic energy to make us, I don't even know where I'm going here. This concept just feels like so like aloof and out of touch, and this is part of the reason why like I'm reading Jordan Peterson anyways in this book where he's like explaining God as the spirit of adventure. Fascinating stuff. We can talk about all of that later. But I think it's just really right now resonating with my space of I'm ready for change. And here I am sitting in my room recording this video. I kind of had this idea in my head and I was like, no, like I'm going to do it. And I think the interesting thing too is that in the equation of kinetic energy, the more kinetic energy you have is related to your velocity. And I think that this speaks to what people say, that it's really about, it's not about finding inspiration and you jump in and do it. It's really about starting small, giving yourself more velocity, being like, oh, hey, look, like I'm actually doing this, and allowing that to snowball into bigger things. Like, for example, today I wanted to make this video and I was like, okay, what is something I can do? Start by making my bed. I make my bed every morning, besides the point. I make my bed. I was like, okay, I'm gonna clean up a little bit. I have some clothes I hadn't put away, you know, just pile it up. I'm a human. I start doing that. I'm gonna clean up, had a couple dishes, couple cups, you know, I just need to throw in the sink, wash those. And then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to jump into my planner right now. Do a little bit of journaling, you know, write down the things I've been doing. I'm an avid planner journaler. That might be more content for later times. And then I was sitting there and I was like, okay, now I really want to do this video. I had it on my list, make one video this week. And I was like, okay, next, what are we going to do? And I was like, script. Kind of get an idea down. Start writing out, well, what are the things that I want to write? So I started writing. And as I was writing, I was like, yeah, this is great. This is cool and all. But truth is, I'm not going to sit here and read a script to you guys. So I was like, nope, you know what? Let me pull out my camera. Let me pull out my mic. Let me set it up. Let's see how we want to do this. So I started doing that. And then I sat down in front of the camera and did a little bit. Wasn't too happy with it. Did a little bit more research. And now I'm here. And all of that to say, the only way to get unstuck is to add a little force. And I think that there's many ways to add a little push to your life. Whether that means accountability, like a whole getting a coach for working out, somebody to add a little bit of force. Whether that means, getting one of those apps where if you want to get up early in the morning, the alarm goes off, and the alarm doesn't go off until you go scan a barcode of your coffee machine or something. I heard somebody talk about that online. Or other ways to get unstuck is, lower the expectation. Perfectionism is an idea killer. It's a creativity killer. But we can lower the expectation and just say, you know what? If you want to write a book, I'm going to write 3 sentences today. I'm going to do that. And I'm not going to sit here and, I understand there are mental health issues. I understand, and I'm friends with and love people who struggle with things like depression and have very, very real issues. But for those people, first step is, therapy. You don't have to do anything other than talk to someone. And I'm not sitting here to shame. I'm not sitting here to judge. Heck, I have been in that space. I have been in that space for years of wanting to do a YouTube channel, wanting to put content online and not doing it. So don't take that as judgment. But really what I'm sitting here to say is that if I, Karen, can sit here and create, there's nothing stopping you from doing that. And I think part of what we need to do is lower that bar, is just say, you know what, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just going to get one paint color and I'm going to paint the whole page green. Do it. And I think what you'll notice is that once you start painting the whole page green, inspiration just kind of bubbles up and you're like, oh, you know what? I think maybe I'll draw some leaves with this green. And you just start drawing leaves. They're not good. Maybe they're not pretty. Maybe they don't even look like leaves. They look like blobs. But we allow that to continue to pull us through the unknown into something new. I don't know how many people watching this video are tarot readers. But there's this one deck that I love. It's called the Wild Unknown Archetype deck, I believe. I might have to check myself on that. But the card that I literally pulled today was one that was called the Dead End. And you're like, oh, that sucks. That's actually kind of scary. It's literally like all black and like a web and like a hand going, stop. And even I initially was like, oh God, a dead end? Like, what the heck? This isn't cool. This doesn't feel good. But whenever I went and I read that, it was literally saying, like, dead ends are potential. Dead ends are a gift. Dead ends are a, hey, you don't want to go here any farther. Getting laid off was a, hey, you honestly didn't really love this job. And even if you did, it's the universe being like, you got something better over here. And that concept of there's something better over here takes some faith, takes some hope, takes some vision. It takes with connecting with a part of yourself that maybe you haven't in a long time. So, yeah. Here's to getting unstuck. Just do one thing. Just one word, one color, one animal, one tree. I don't know where that's coming from. My light just turned off. Cool, you can still see me. But yeah. I think part of what I'm sitting here saying to you, and probably even saying to myself, is too many times I don't even take the first step, and the first step is what leads to future steps. So, yeah. Thank you so much for being here. Like I said, if you found this insightful, have somebody you might want to share it with, please do. Or if you liked it and you want to see more like this, hit subscribe down below. I'd love to see you here. Join with me on this journey out of my stuckness and into this wild unknown called YouTube. So, thank you. Bye.